Yeah, she probably knows everyone in the world. Hello, hello, hello.
We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land we're meeting on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our deep respects and give thanks to elders past and present for sharing their knowledge throughout the generations and for their continued care for culture, country and community. We extend that respect to First Nations people everywhere, especially those present today. As we meet on this country, please pause and reflect on the fact that we are walking in the footsteps of generations of leaders, innovators, and knowledge holders. Together, we can build a better and more equitable future.
Hello. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional owners of our land in which we live and create, and pay my respects to elders past and present. We recognise the deep connection that the First Nations people have with this land, and we honour their creativity and culture. Now, as designers, we are inspired by the art, the stories and the knowledge, and we are committed to fostering an inclusive approach where we respect the rich heritage and the ongoing vitality of our Indigenous cultures. I also wish to extend a welcome to all First Nations and Indigenous of the Torres Strait Islander people in the room today. So good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Han and I'm the Head of Enterprise DesignOps here at Macquarie Group. We are just, on behalf of the Design and Macquarie community, welcome to all designers and design enthusiasts. It is amazing to see so many familiar but also new faces in the same room today. We've got designers flying in from Singapore who we've just met. We are so thrilled to be hosting this very special Design Connection meetup alongside Sydney Design Thinking for the very first time. And later tonight, we will be hearing from our Chief Design Officer, Steve Packham, as well as the Australian Good Design Award judges, Ben Crothers and Nila Rezaei, who will be reflecting on the state of the design nation. I also wanted to give a very special shout out to Shapeshifters, who are actually live sketching this event live. So for those of you that don't know, Shapeshifters are a 2024 Good Design Award winner for their amazing work in visual communication and storytelling. So sit back and enjoy, watch Alan work his magic as he synthesises the event in real time. Oh, and Alan, I've been told my good side's my right, so. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand over to my co-host for the night. With over 30 years of experience in design and financial services, he's done it all. So he's an innovation coach and author. He's the co-founder of Dynamic 4, and now my favourite friend of Macquarie, Mr. Ben Pecotich.
Thank you. Awesome, thank you. I'm not used to being introduced at any of these events, so awesome to see you all, and welcome to, what have we got here? It's Sydney Design Thinking Meetup number 106, and it's our third of our Design Connections series. So, welcome. We'll talk about people coming up in a moment, but really awesome to have a great lineup tonight. For those who are wondering what Design Connection is, that's a little collective of Sydney Design Thinking, CCX Meetup and EUX Meetup. So we come together a few times a year We've been doing this since 2018, so it's a bit of a long-running tradition now. And really bringing together our overlapping communities together as a design mega meetup. So it's always fun. Hopefully you've met a bunch of each other already. For all the Mac people who this might be your first meetup of the SydDT, EUX, CCX, or any of the other variants, Design Connection, all the acronyms. So hopefully you've made a whole bunch of friends as well. So kicking on, SydDT every month is brought to you by the four of us. Unfortunately, Kate is holidaying and Kylie can't make it tonight, and Lucas is in the front row. Shout out to Lucas. And actually, EUX and CCX, Kev and Adam and Vera. I was going to get Vera up as well. Come up, Vera. You guys come up now. We're going to do a quick shout out as well, so you know some of the other meetups coming up very soon. But SydDT, we started 9.5 years ago, and we're just under 10,000 members. So if you're not already a member of the SydDT community, come and join us. Let's help get to that 10K mark. And we've got a couple of awesome things coming up. The first one that's coming up from SydDT and a design connection point of view after tonight is that on the 28th of November, we've got our end of year celebration. So if you got a flavour tonight and you want more of this, it won't be here. There won't be people handing you food. You'll have to do that yourself. Atlassian are hosting us. So I just want to, anyone that you think you get this every month, we just need to reset some expectations down to normal level. Normally we don't have an AV crew. It's Lucas and I setting up a rig to record stuff. So, and we're going to keep that vibe as much as possible. While we're in the flash place, we're still going to go lo-fi. So, and then more of Shapeshifters coming up. That's the way we'll kick off 2025, which will be with a visual thinking workshop. So at SydDT, we also do workshop formats as well. So a bit of a mix. Hit that QR code, and I'm going to pass off to Kev.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, we're part of this clan. Very proud to be as well. We've got our last meetup for the year happening on the 19th. Oh, that's the wrong date. The 19th of November. We did actually have to change it because of the mega event happening with Figma. So most of you are probably going to be in that room anyway. Yeah, so we're going to have Charbel talking about revitalizing the future of work. So Charbel is from an agency called Faster Zebra, and you might know him as one of the founders of Academy XI. And he'll be talking about educating tomorrow's leaders. And there's going to be 3 other speakers that night in a discussion, and 2 of them are in the room. I can see Ian, he's there, and I saw Martin earlier. Where is he? And then Martin's right at the back, yeah. So make sure you get along to that. And yeah, it was great to be here. Thank you. Great, Ben.
Hi, everyone. So we have the EUX SID on the 21st of November, and it's super cool because we've got Krish Gunda, who's a Director of Program for New South Wales SES, and so really coming through to talk about how cross-functional workshops and how we've been involved. We did so many interviews with so many different groups of stakeholders, and how going from workshops all the way through to blueprints, all the way through to RFI so that they can procure stuff, and everything in between is what he's going to talk about. So it's a super cool talk, really interesting. He's a great speaker, but it was also a really cool project to be involved with. So hopefully you can come along on the 21st. Thank you.
And Vera says hi. So Vera's also part of the Design Connection crew, and Susan Wolf as well. So yeah, the glue, the backbone brings us all together. So lots of things coming up. And what have we got right now? That's what we're doing now. That's good. And we're going to kick off with a quick talk by Steve, who's here. Awesome. Steve's the CDO here at Macquarie, and Design at Macquarie as part of the COG team. I'll let him share the acronyms and what those things mean in a moment. And then we'll kick on to Ben and Mila, who will then talk about some of their highlights from the Good Design Awards this year. So welcome to Steve. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I believe Jenny and Ben got some whoops. Yeah. So needy, aren't I? Hi, I'm Steve. I'm the Chief Design Officer at Macquarie for the Corporate Operations Group, or as we call it, COG. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about how we've spent this past year building out our design practice. But before I talk to you about how we've been growing internally, I wanted to talk to you, kind of express our desire to grow our presence outside of the organization. Now, individuals represent Macquarie at design events in Sydney for a number of years, and hopefully you've met us at those events. But as a design practice, we haven't always prioritized telling our story. So we'd love to grow our visibility in this community in the coming years, and hopefully today is a demonstration of that commitment. Now, we'd love to continue the conversation after today, so if I say anything remotely interesting in the next 10 minutes, and look, there's a chance I might, don't discount it, then my challenge to you is to connect with a Macquarie employee after the event and to find out more. So I have the privilege of talking to you today, but I'm just one of many designers at Macquarie. We have over 100 designers in our 8 operating groups all around the world. And in our retail banking group in BFS, we have a very structured and mature design team. And hopefully you saw Jake Corsby at the SydDT event in September. He's here, in yellow glasses. But beyond the retail banking team, and until a year ago, all of our designers either worked on their own or in small groups with little visibility or connection to the broader capability. So last year, we embarked on an ambitious journey to bring together our internal design community, to connect designers, people with design-adjacent capabilities, and just anybody who was interested in the capability across our organization, so that we could amplify the impact of design. We put our focus in building a sense of community and identity, and we revisited our design guild, a place for everyone to come together. We established design skilling for all levels, from introductory e-learning modules right through to in-depth design masterclasses, and we established a vibrant visual identity with PowerPoint templates and Zoom backgrounds, and these rather nifty design t-shirts, if I do say so myself. Black is the new black. It's timeless. So through doing that, we raised our visibility and our sense of connection. Now, in our own group, in COG, we brought all of our designers together to form the COG design team, which is the team that I lead, and we ran a number of initiatives to help grow and mature our design practice. And I wanted to just run by 3 of them with you today. So firstly, we established our first ever enterprise-wide design function to uplift and scale design across the organization so that our designers could focus on what they do best. In our service design team, we established dedicated streams and aligned our service designers to specialized areas of expertise. So now we have individuals that focus on customer experience, on systems thinking, on service excellence, and on strategic design. And lastly, we doubled down on our commitment to accessibility, establishing an accessibility advocate to help raise our standards and practices so that we could build digital experiences that are inclusive and accessible to all. Now, our designers work on many exciting and interesting projects, but not all of them are as visible as our external and award-winning Macquarie banking app. We don't like it to mention it too much, but it has won awards. So I wanted to just share 3 projects that you might not be aware of. So the first one is our Global Experience Language, or GEL. So this is our first ever enterprise-wide design system for internal teams. And it helps to establish visual and functional consistency. Now, it helps the people that build digital experiences to have a reliable and scalable solution, and it's a promise and a commitment to our users and to our colleagues that we're going to build digital experiences that are consistent and intuitive and accessible. Previously, we had over 80 employee-wide services, which sometimes left our staff feeling a little bit confused or sometimes occasionally a bit overwhelmed. So we established a program to build the hub where all of our services come together. So we have all of our essential services and tasks for over 20,000 employees. Now, to realize this vision, we've had to establish a multidisciplinary team, but the designers have played a really key role in reimagining the experience for our users and for the people that provide those services. And lastly, for Macquarie AI Chat, so this is our internal equivalent of ChatGPT. It's available to all of our staff and helps us to be more creative and productive and innovative. And our designers have played a really key role in introducing this new tool. They designed and built the interface that we use to connect with AI Chat. They helped with the change in comms, and they also established prompt masterclasses to level up the skills of our staff to be able to use this tool. Throughout the last year, our designers have found a number of opportunities to be able to help the broader community, and I wanted to just spotlight 3 of those with you today. The first one is with ABCN, or the Australian Business Communities Network. Just last month, we hosted a workshop where we taught high school students how to apply the design thinking practice and how to make impactful decisions about their future. We also taught them sketchnoting skills, so they're able to bring their ideas to life in a creative and fun way, much like we've seen with shapeshifters today. I think Alan's made me look very handsome. I think maybe you need to buy him a beer afterwards, so thanks, Alan. The second one is SEND. So this is the Social Enterprises Needing Development. So this is an initiative we run at Macquarie where we form cross-functional teams of people who don't necessarily know each other to help Australian social enterprises. And our designers have volunteered for a number of these engagements over the past year. And the thing that I'm particularly proud of is that we often bring skills and practices that those social enterprises aren't aware of. So we've helped with building user personas and helping to think about things like information architecture for their websites. And then lastly, for PCYC, the Police Citizens Youth Club, we helped their employees to drive a customer-centric approach to some of the system and process challenges that they were facing. And we built skills to their staff to help them to think about insight generation, to build customer journey mapping, and to introduce CX metrics. And we asked them at the end of that engagement to give us a CX metric, and they gave us a Net Promoter Score of 100. Thank you. Positive 100, I should add, because it does go all the way to minus 100. Great. So as a wise man once said, great organizations get outside. And I've talked a lot about what we've been doing internally over this past year. So for our next chapter, we're really looking to get out in that community more. And today is kind of the first day for that journey for us as a design practice. And we're really glad that you came out today to help us be part of that. So thank you very much. We'd love you to stay connected. There's a few different ways you can do that. So we're going to the veranda bar afterwards, so you can meet us for a drink. That's probably the most exciting way to stay connected. But you could also connect with us on LinkedIn, or you can stay connected by reading our blog. So we post a new blog every 6 weeks. We have a new one that's gone live today. If you'd like to access that blog, you can access by scanning the QR codes on our back. It is a bit disconcerting the first time a stranger scans your back, but we're all used to it, so please don't be shy. Come and chat to us, and come and connect to us, and come and help us with that next journey with us. So thank you very much. I'll be around afterwards if you have any questions.
I think you're hanging for a couple of questions. I think we've got time for a couple of questions for Steve. So who has a question for Steve about what's happening with design at Macquarie? Or did he cover it so awesomely that you've got nothing?
I tried to run away too
There
quickly.
we go.
So banks notorious for focus for the dollars. How have you sold design to Macquarie from a financial perspective?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think we've been on, in our group in particular, we've been on a long journey, and we've had a lot of support from our senior leaders as well. And they've kind of empowered us to think differently about how we can do things in the organization. They haven't directed us to necessarily do design, but I think we've been able to utilize the broader kind of strategic vision to be able to bring design into the mix to help them achieve some of the things we're looking to do. So I think also, I mean, sometimes people think design, part of what we've done is made people think differently about what design is. Design isn't just about making things look pretty, although there is a role to play in that. But I think with the financial dollars, we're able to demonstrate the benefit of design as well. Maybe not necessarily always with cost, but I think with what we've done, especially in this last year to 18 months, is find ways to get measurable impact, to align it to an OKR. Sometimes that's a cost, sometimes it's not, but we can show the impact that we're having and the impact that's having to our staff and people that use our tools. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Time for one more. Sea of faces. All the way at the back. I'll bring you a mic. Oh, there's a mic coming that way. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for your work. What was the biggest challenge that you had to face, and how did you overcome it when you brought everyone together?
Oh, that's a good question. Our biggest challenge.
There was obviously no pants in the audience with pre-prepared questions.
I think the biggest challenge is explaining what design is. Like, everybody thinks they know what design is. Kind of, it seems like an easy to access thing, right? People know people experience it in their day-to-day lives. But I think, so for instance, especially when you come down to like, what is a service designer, or what is a product designer, or why do you need us on our project? I think that's the hardest thing. And I feel like there's lots of different ways you can communicate that, and you can kind of try and prove it on paper or do a really good presentation. But for me, it's all about just demonstrating impact. The hardest thing, truly, that we've had is we'll have projects or large programs that are started, and we don't have any designers on that program. And what we've had to do is kind of fight to get half of a designer on that program. And what we've tried to do is demonstrate the value that they provide on that. And what we've done time and time again is you get half a designer on a program, within 2 weeks they suddenly want 3 designers. And that's kind of like how we've grown, and a big part of what we've been able to achieve this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Great, thanks, Ben. Thanks.
And also just want to say a huge thanks to Jen, Steve, Christine, who have been awesome to work with from Macquarie, to make that clear, who've been awesome to collaborate with over the last few weeks to get this event happening and make it also. Kelvin on the camera, when he's pointing a camera at you, give him a big smile. And obviously the AV guys, because this is like a full production, so there's a whole team on this. So a massive thanks to everyone at Macquarie for hosting and collaborating with us on this. It's been huge. Thank you. So now, it's game on. You ready, Ben and Mila? So someone's ready on your behalf, which is good. So we're really lucky to have Ben and Mila, who are a couple of the judges from this year's Good Design Awards. They're going to share some of their highlights, not necessarily just the winners. So it's some of their highlights, observations, trends, patterns, insights, all that good stuff that as designers we love. And any design curious people in the room, this is the sort of stuff we get up to. And a key part of this as well is showing the scope and breadth of design, which Steve was sort of just mentioning there. That's not all just about the visual and the graphic. There's a lot of other moving parts to it. So I'm going to get out of the way, and let's do the main course. Ben and Mila.
Good evening, everyone. Isn't this amazing? What an amazing space. I really want to add my thanks as well. I really want to add my thanks as well to the Jens and Steve and the AV guys and the team for putting this together in this space. We are well and truly spoiled. Ben, this is never going to be the same. Is anyone from Atlassian here tonight? Okay. Game on. Game on. All right. Now, as in case you don't know, I'm Ben. I'm still Ben. It's become a bit of a tradition, hasn't it, Ben P, to do this State of the Design Nation once a year, every year, after the Good Design Awards are done, which happens every year, because it is so good and so useful to get ourselves up out of the trenches and find out like what is going on in the rest of the design world. So when I'm not doing this and when I'm not a judge for Good Design Awards, I'm a facilitator and a designer and a graphic recorder. You've also made me look very handsome, thank you very much. I will also buy you a beer. You'll be smashed by the end of the night, I'm sure. And I really enjoy facilitating teams, getting them unstuck to solve the right problems at the right time with the right people. And you know that saying, we just need to get everyone on the same page. You know, I draw that page and I get other people to draw that page. So there's always much more clarity and progress that way. That's me. Hi, Mila.
Hi, Ben. Hello, everyone. Ben, thank you very much for having me. Thank you. It's very exciting to be here. So I was, for the first time, joining the Good Design Award judging as a product designer, physical product designer, I must say. So I'm an industrial designer by background, and I've been working as an industrial designer for years in consultancies, startups, as in-house designer, and I recently started my own product design and innovation collective, with Christopher, who's sitting over there, and we are designing with a focus on social impact and sustainability. So that's how we sort of differentiate ourselves. So very excited to be talking about a couple of super good projects today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Mila. And I'm really chuffed to be sharing the stage with Mila as well. Mila, is this your first time as judge for Good Design Australia?
Yeah, so this was my first time joining the Good Design Award, and Rachel. Yeah. Fantastic.
And yes, speaking of which, we actually have the Managing Director of Good Design Australia with us this evening. Rachel. Really, really nice to have you here. Thank you for being here, and thank you to you and the team, Brandon and Natasha, for having so much drive for design in Australia. And that passion is so infectious, and that's part of what we want to share this evening. So let's get stuck into it, shall we? Now, who has heard of Good Design Australia, Good Design Awards? Fantastic, represent. Right, hands up, who has won a Good Design Award? Quite a few hands, that's awesome, well done. Well done. That is really, really exciting. Who wants to win a Good Design Award? Why aren't all your hands going? That's better, that's better. The Good Design Awards have been going since 1958. If anyone is here and can remember that far back. Back then, it was really about lifting Australia's presence in the world when it came to manufacturing. And it was really important back then that we elevated our manufacturing game. And the Good Design Awards has certainly been there and seen so many trends come and go over the years. We're going to show you some more trends tonight, and I'm sure some of them will be very familiar to you. These days, design is everywhere. That said, as we know, good design is often invisible, isn't it? And it's the brief of Good Design Australia to keep exposing and celebrating and elevating the exemplars of good design, not only in Australia, but around the world. And that's why it's got a real special place in my heart to be involved as a judge. But hey, I can wax lyrical all night about this. I won't. Let's hear from some other judges. This was filmed during the judging process this year.
I think what makes Australia's Good Design Awards so unique and so special is that we bring together so many different disciplines, and we talk about impact of the work that we do in design. The impact is so important on our communities, on our people and our planet.
I think what makes the Australian Good Design Awards really special is the breadth of categories, the representation of different forms of design practice, different kinds of design outcomes across products, services, communications design, and it's really that breadth that gives us a wonderful perspective on the practice of design in all its different disciplines every year when we come together and look at all these categories together and have our debates about what great design looks like.
I think one big difference that makes the Good Design Awards more unique compared to other awards around the world is that designers here get to showcase Indigenous stories, the sort of stories that you don't find anywhere else on the planet.
There is a very lively debate happening. We present our ideas about which designs we think should win, but the room really kind of picks it apart, and we look at so many different angles from so many different viewpoints.
I think, as you can see, the people in this room, they care about design, but they also care about impact of that design, and that's what this is all about, is discussing and debating what is best in class when it comes to design, but also in impact and how it affects our communities and the world around us.
The evaluation process is really quite rigorous. It looks at excellence, it looks at impact, it looks at process. It can be quite complex comparing architectural entries with products, with digital entries. So there's a real need to sort of deep dive on those and look at what it means in terms of sustainability, low carbon economy and outcomes. It really is quite thorough.
Design and innovation is a result of people thinking differently. I think as we move forward in the world, design and innovation is going to become more and more important. Our problems are only becoming more complex and intersected with each other. They're certainly not linear anymore. So thinking about things differently, bringing together different disciplines to think about design and innovating in that is the only way we're going to be able to solve problems in the complex world in which we live.
I think it's essential that we don't just look to overseas for where good things come from, to actually recognise Australian design and Australian design industries as ways to actually produce a sustainable planet.
It's a fundamental building block of how we live our lives, and by being able to celebrate that across those categories, it really both demonstrates our ability to elevate what we think is important in society, and we're seeing that come through in the Australian Design Awards now across all of these categories, is a really robust conversation about us as designers and what we want to put into the world and how we wish to engage with people in the world around us.
It's an incredible journey to be a part of these awards, and to receive an acknowledgement for your efforts is fantastic.
Huge congratulations. The calibre of entries has just been phenomenal, and it's been such a privilege to see the depth and the breadth of incredible Australian design.
Well, we hope that gives you a flavour for what the experience is like for Mila and I, and indeed nearly 80 other jury members of what it's like to sift through this year over 950 entries in 12 different categories. So I'm sure a lot of you here are used to digital design. There's 3 subcategories just within digital design, but there's also others: design research, design strategy, architecture, communications design, brand and branding. Certainly there's a social impact category, service design, and fashion impact as well. So there's such a broad range of categories, and indeed there are over 30 industry partners that are involved, and all of this, after judging, culminates in one night of glamour and fine dining, where the winners and the jury get together to have a big shindig and celebrate everyone who has put the hard yards in and won these awards. And so you definitely don't want to miss that out. Like if indeed you are working on something and you're thinking, wow, yeah, I think it's time that we submitted an entry into the Good Design Awards. It'd be fantastic to have your work there. And of course, we're not just speaking to people at Macquarie, like everyone here as well. Yeah, well, just to be clear, there are 5 different accolades, and what Mila and I want to do is just cherry pick a few that have a special place for us, because there's certain trends and takeaways that we saw coming up, or certainly reinforced that we've seen in previous years, that we think can be quite thought-provoking. It's worthy of saying too, there are other accolades as well. There is a design team of the year. There's certainly the Women in Design Award that's given out every year. This year it was given out to Carolyn Butler Bowden. She works at the library, the New South Wales State Library. And there is an Indigenous Design Award as well. Very comprehensive, which I think is important. And fun fact, there's actually a kilo. I'm looking at Rachel here. It's like having my mum in the audience, by the way. It's like, is that right? It's like there's a kilo of reclaimed plastic from the ocean in every single trophy that people get. And that alone really speaks to the ethos, or part of the ethos of good design and good design impact, which I think is really cool. Now, we've been raving on, or I beg your pardon, I've been raving on for long enough. Nila and I want to give you the opportunity to think, well, what does good design mean to you? Say you were a judge and you were faced, okay, maybe not with 950 entries, but just entries in your chosen category. What we'd like for you to do is turn to the person next to you and have a chat, just a couple of minutes. What is good design to you? If you were a judge, what principles or what criteria would you set? What would you look for and elevate? Over to you. That comes next. Well. I hope that was insightful. I hope you had some interesting ideas that you were sharing with each other. Now what I'd like you to do is get your phones out, and even just saying that, I'm starting to get the shakes. Like if I got my phone out, you know what I'd be checking right now? I'd be checking the news to see who the latest president is. I had to say that. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. Otherwise, resist the temptation and have a scan of this QR code here and, think about what you were chatting about. Maybe put a phrase or a sentence, a couple of words in. It's only for the top 50, so first in, first served. And let's see, what does good design mean to us in the room? Straight away we're seeing, yes, it needs to be sustainable. Indeed, like this is at the heart of a lot of the conversations that the jury have with the Good Design Awards. And there's definitely some parts there of how we use the object of design. It has to be intuitive, has to be simple. There's the good old delight word. But right in the middle there too is impact. Has to be impactful. That warms the cockles of my bitter, jaded heart to see that. That's really good to see. It has to be beautiful. Design can be, good design is invisible, positive impact, user-centered. This is like a flashback to the 90s. Isn't this great with a word cloud? Nila, what are you seeing?
I think I see a lot of, inclusive and social, which is, I think I see that because it's front of mind for me, but I think we talk about that in a lot of the project that we present. And it's, I think like to me, we more and more see that design is going beyond just the aesthetic or the function, but it's more around impact. It's more about longer term sustainability, and it's becoming more and more apparent in the entries that we've been judging as well. So excited to share those with you guys.
Great call, great call. I can just see funky. I like that. All right. Well, thank you for that. Even that alone is quite insightful to see, isn't it? I hope someone's got a snapshot of that on their camera. Feel free to share that.
I just say I can see beer. Nice, great. I love that.
All right. Magic. Thanks, guys. All right. And just to be clear, the criteria that the jury have for the Good Design Awards is 3, nice and simple: good design. And of course, there's some details in there depending on the categories and subcategories. Does the project meet the criteria for good design in its category? So a lot of what you read and a lot of what you've come up with, like, is it intuitive? Is it using the form and function well? Is it matching a purpose? That's definitely in there. Design innovation. Does the project set a new benchmark in some way? Is it nudging the game forward in some way? And thirdly, design impact. Will the project have potential to improve the quality of life for people and our planet? And that one in particular, I think that means a lot to us. I think there's so much of our job as designers, we get to do those things that nudge positive behaviour. Because often we know what it's like when we've got a load of cares and things to do in the world. We're not always thinking about making a great impact. But the products and services that we use, the processes that we follow day in, day out in our lives, are they nudging us toward more positive behaviour for more positive impact? All right, let's get into the highlights. As Ben mentioned before, it's a real smattering of what's important to us. It's a degustation, if you will. I think, is there 7, Mila? So look, we're aware that we're in between you guys and a drink and connecting with people at Macquarie, so we don't want to wax lyrical for too long, and I'm saying that for myself, really. But let's jump in, shall we? Look, let's start with a bang. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Good Design Award of the Year. Yes! This is the Da Vinci 5 surgical system by a company headquartered in California called Intuitive. It's essentially a surgery platform that revolves around these little tiny robot, not hands, little robot things that are controlled by surgeons, and they had huge advances in ergonomically designing the consoles for surgeons. And to see the videos of these at work, it's just mind-blowing. Because Intuitive, the company, indeed all surgeons, understand that all surgery is trauma. And we want to minimise that trauma as much as possible. And so much effort has gone into making like these little robot pincers, like less like something you'd see in, I don't know, like the Thunderbirds or James Bond, and much more sensitive to the substrate, the human body. And that's where this force feedback technology comes in, that being able, the surgeons being able to feel the push and pull of skin. I'm not going to go any further there. Might start to get a bit squeamish for some people. And the other thing too is that indeed it's a platform. Just to take it back, just so you get a sense of the scale, these robot arms and that black kind of mast you see, that goes over the operating table. So that's the scale of what it is there. The takeaway we want to really raise here is this unrivaled collaboration that the intuitive team had with so many different people in the domain, especially with clinical engineers. Indeed, Russell Blanchard, the director of the product design at Intuitive, I really liked this. He said, in building the industrial design team, we had to make sure that we were educating ourselves on understanding the clinical workflow, contextual environment, the surgical techniques, and what the surgeon and care team are trying to accomplish. And I really like that thing of often we're learning as we go, aren't we? Like as designers, like every new project, it's always nice to think, what do I want to learn out of this project? And it may not be some new piece of kit or like a new framework or that new thing in Figma or whatever, but it might be a new process, a new role in the company that you're already working at now and how they get their job done. Hashtag empathy. So I think that having that spirit of educating ourselves really stood out for me. I'll say this one and then I'll pass to Mila for the next one. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bradbury Park playscape. Really, really heavy on the Hunger Games energy, I think. You see this? Now, some of you, has anyone got little kids? I don't anymore. Mine are way too old for something like this, although I think they'd love it. You can look at this and be in equal parts, fear, fascination, which if you think about it, is kind of what a playground should give you, right? Like there needs to be a little bit of element of danger. I like that they've got some severed limbs that is part of the design. No, but seriously, in the ride up to this, they were big on having lots of different climbing structures, and there's a small girl trapped here. I hope this girl, who seems too big for the photo, can save that one. But for us, the takeaway here was adventurous design. I'm sure we've all seen Moneyball-centred design these days, right? Like design that's optimised for what we know already works. And there's this blandness and there's this sameness all the time. So I say yay to structures like this that stick the middle finger up to the rest of playgrounds to say, no, it can be slightly dangerous looking, So adventurous design, I really like that.
Amazing. So, hi guys, Mila here again. So this is one of my favorite, I think probably even the most favorite project from the Good Design Awards this year. So it's called EUX Vision Kit. So I know the lead designer on this project very closely. He's an ex-colleague and a friend of mine. Basically what it is, it's a kit that a health worker can take to a remote area and test vision, but also dispense modular sort of glasses on the spot. And to me, this really exemplifies a sort of a project that is designing for the bottom of the pyramid, designing for a community that sort of doesn't have access to resources like we do. And one of the key takeaways for us was to, democratize design, not always just design for the top 10% or the people around us, but actually think about communities that we may not necessarily, see every day or know about. It also exemplifies brilliant industrial design. So as an industrial designer, I think this is just the craft of industrial design has really meticulously been implemented here, from the glasses themselves for the people of the community who use it, but to also the kit that builds this capability for the health worker to use and succeed in their job. So this one won the Best in Class for designing for social impact, and I think it's just hitting greatness in industrial design, in even service design, and even the way that they're designing their business. So, yeah. We can move on to the next one.
I particularly like the design aesthetic of the glasses, like that
glasses,
kind of that
yeah.
John Lennon thing, because I can see how they've gone for like a very universal design.
Exactly.
But it just makes everyone look cooler.
That's right.
well.
And it's very, it's designed in a way that can actually be almost made on the spot. So you just press your, you know, the right sort of lens in the frames and on the spot as, you know, as the vision's been tested, and you can dispense it on the spot. It's, yeah, it's quite amazing.
I love that quote by William Gibson, author of Neuromancer. He said, "The future's already here. It's just not equally distributed. It's projects like this that really start to evenly distribute assets and benefits like sight. Something as essential as sight." That's right. Yeah. Little bit of change of tack. This next one I labelled the convenient. The playground one, like that was more like the kind of coriander of design projects. Like you either love it or hate it, right? But this one is like the convenient. Essentially, you take your cans and your bottles to one of these designated areas, and you kind of gently, ladies and gentlemen, otherwise it stuffs up, you feed the bottles and cans into one of these structures, and you have an app like this one here, Containers for Change, and you get to make a little bit of money back from the containers, and they're recycled. Has anyone used any sort of thing like this? Yeah, like they're around a fair bit. One of the problems that this solved, I really like, is you can spend half a day like filling up your car with all your beer bottles, you know. I just realised what that says about me. Anyway, moving on. Filling up your car with all your beer bottles, and you go along and you play this like this weird etiquette that, you know, you have, because you've got to wait in line, you know, and until it's your turn, you're putting it in, and it takes forever. It takes forever. And you go, fantastic, how much did I get? $1.50. You know, does anyone have this issue? Right. One bonus of this is you can do it as a team, as a group. And so if you have like a soccer team or your, I don't know, local cat wrestling team or whatever you're into, you can actually pool all your you pool all your money together. So it's not just $1.50, it's $10.50, you know. Yeah. And so, yeah, nothing glamorous, nothing flash. Of course, you're going to see a lot more lovely lickable gradients and that on Dribble or TikTok. Like, this is a different kind of a space. It's very utilitarian, but it works. And we like the systems design that's going on here. It works with the on-site facilities. It integrates seamlessly with a PayPal account and so on.
Leak block by Sea Forest. So we love this picture. That's one reason that we picked this project. But I think one of the first reason that we've sort of wanted to talk about this is a project that sort of exemplifies how we can use design in a different way that we're used to. So when you look at it, it's just a block that a cow licks. It's feedstock basically, but it has a special type of seaweed that reduces methane gases when it's used as feedstock. So sort of challenging this notion of, you know, design going beyond aesthetics or design going beyond creating products, services with lots of features, with lots of, you know, complexity, but applying the same sort of thinking and the same process in agriculture, in areas where we can sort of really tackle complex challenges, such as climate change in this case. And they won a gold award for engineering design. They also won a special accolade, the Michael Bryce Patrons Award. And it's just, like, to me, it's a really great example of designing for sustainability within modern agriculture, I think. And yeah, beyond design, that was our key takeaway. Yeah.
When something as just simple as a cube can have so much thought go into it, and so much simplicity from complexity go into it as well. This might be the last one, I forget.
One more after this.
Oh, there's one more after. Oh, of course there is. This is the public/private diagnosis site from the Brain Cancer Centre. Ostensibly, it's a very small website that is made to raise awareness of brain cancer in Australia and to raise money, to raise donations. But the way it is done, ladies and gentlemen, is with some of the best scrollytelling and storytelling I've seen in a long time. So if I say scrollytelling, have you seen sites like this? Like you're either scrolling, whatever, and you have like parallax things going on and other things whooshing in and text coming and going. And sometimes it can all be a little bit overboard. This one, it's just really sensitively done. And it's actually all built around the visual metaphor of a chair. And it is so simple, but I guess it departs from this idea of showing lots and lots of statistics and trying to shock, and gets down to that single moment when you find out you have brain cancer. And I'm going to mess up. Just the videos of the personal stories that they have, the quotes that they have, it's just so evocative. And even the texture on the screen, like there's this grainy texture going on. It's almost like you forget you're even looking at a screen. It's quite magical the way it's done. The animation is flawless. Even the breakpoints that they've done in handling the different device sizes, flawless. It was just done so well, and in a way that it doesn't try to guilt you. It doesn't try to take you by the collar, but instead it invites you into that very intimate moment of what it is like to be diagnosed and what it's like for the family around it. Very, very compelling stuff, and to do that in such quite a tidy little space. It was just a stroke of genius. It was great. Yeah.
Lucky last. That's me right there. So, as well as being a judge for Good Design Award this year, RK Collective, myself and Christopher, we also won a Good Design Award for social impact for a project very close to our heart that we've been working on pretty much since last year, called Crafted Liberation. And what it is, it's very close to my heart. I might get a little bit teary. I'm trying not to. It's basically a participatory project. It's a collective action. We call it a collective action by women of Iran. Responding to the 2022 Women Life Freedom Movement, being an Iranian-Australian designer, we started this initiative where we asked Iranian women around the world, in Australia, outside of Australia, in Iran, to send us their unwanted headscarves. So a symbol of that movement was that a lot of women sort of stopped wearing the headscarf, the mandatory headscarf, and sort of said no. And now, if you go to Iran, there's a lot of women who are not wearing it, and it's absolutely fine. So there's been a bit of a change created through that. What we then did, we took those textiles and we transformed them into a stadium seat. And the reason we picked the stadium seat was because it also resembles a daily oppression for an Iranian woman. So what we're trying to really do here is to take this sort of object that symbolizes, sort of grayness and oppression and all those sort of things, and turn it into an object that's empowering, that's visualizing a future that is, crafted by those women. And I think our key takeaway from this is empowering through design, so really centering the agency, centering the voice on communities who need it the most. And I guess another thing that we're doing through this project is to enable all of us, the Iranian diaspora, and also women in Iran, to be able to protest to be able to sort of say no without disclosing their identity. So just by giving that scarf and portraying this beautiful, colorful pattern on a stadium seat where they're going to hopefully take and use freely in the future. So what we're doing is we're sort of using these seats in different exhibitions, in different spaces, and really trying to create spaces where, you know, we can have these conversations and understand how some people might, you know, experience freedom in different countries. And yeah, it's still ongoing. So I don't know when this project is going to end. Probably not anytime soon. But yeah, that's the last project of the day. And I guess we wanted to finish off with putting this question sort of back to you guys and also ask it from ourselves. What do you want your design work to stand for? So personally, I think this year especially, for me, is really sort of designing solutions, designing experiences that create these moments of reflection, that create these sort of moments of pride and empowerment to some extent. And I think I want to tailor my practice in a way that, you know, it's not just about adding another function or creating something beautiful. Obviously, those are inherent and they should be there for solutions to be adopted. But I think this idea of being a bit more empathetic and raising voices, centering voices, voices that can't be heard in a way that, you know, they can be amplified. And the next question that we would like to ask you guys, and we can sort of discuss that in the Q&A, is what will you dial up or dial down to make that happen? Personally, I think I've been trying to, I mean, it's very difficult, but I've been trying to implement slowness into my practice, so being a bit more slow and not just always on the delivery mode, but sort of being a bit more deliberate with what projects I take on or what I work on and how I deliver them. But also building in emotions, building power, giving agency, and building capability, ultimately. I think building capability for the people, or allowing capability for people who we're designing for, the communities we're designing for. And Ben? What do you?
For me, I suppose as a facilitator, as a strategist, I often see meetings as the object of design. And I'm sure a lot of us here have been involved in strategy offsites, and it all kind of comes together in this honking great PowerPoint deck. And strategy is this kind of like this product to be sold. But for me, that's not if strategy is the object of design, to me, it's an ongoing conversation. It's an insightful conversation that I get to, I have the privilege of getting to invite different people from different parts of an organisation in. So to get the right people in to the right conversation at the right time. So then it turns strategy from being a product to be sold more into this process that everyone gets to be a part of. And yeah, I know it's a cliche to say that, yeah, look, it's about taking people along the journey. But I really enjoy, I guess, like dialing up those opportunities and helping people really make that more specific. Knowing how to have better stakeholder interviews, knowing how to have better meetings, knowing when to get a meeting off the calendar, because we don't need that. So maybe that's the dial down part. But that's where my head is at the moment. Yeah.
And I think you can almost, you can almost see it like in all of these projects that design is being used as a way of enabling a conversation, or like almost a mediator between lots of different stakeholders in one way or another, regardless of what the medium is, if we're creating a product or if we're facilitating, you know, a sort of a joint meeting. It's sort of, design has this amazing power to give materiality and give flesh and visualize issues that are very complex. And I think like understanding that as the practice, we're we're in a really good position to, mediate and give voice.
Thank you. Yeah. And look, we really hope this has raised some good thoughts for you. And no matter what your object of design is that you're working on right now, we really hope that this is giving you some inspiration, some things to think, well, how might I elevate my game? How might I nudge some more positive behaviour? How might I use what I'm working on to mediate a better outcome? Because it's such a privilege to be a designer. It is such a privilege to be in an organisation or in a team or with clients, doesn't matter what your job is, where you get to lead the way with optimism. You get to envision that brighter outcome compared to where things are at now. Now, sure, we can't all be working at, how do you pronounce it, like UTSI? UTSI? Like literally helping people to see. It may not be that, but you can still be making this difference in the lives of people around you every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give it back to you in a sec. Awesome. Thanks again to Nila and Ben. And we do have time for some questions. So who's got questions? Hands straight up, fast at the back. Give that back to you.
Thank you. Firstly, congratulations to you guys because you started your presentation saying the mission of Good Design Awards was to improve the standards of manufacturing in Australia. And I think it is very evident from the examples that you shared with us. So a round of applause even to Rachel and you guys on the stage for being able to do that. So my question is, this is for you, Ben. So I think, design over the years has gone from being something that was quite experimentative and explorative to rather being a bit more standardized and serious. And in this kind of day and age, I just want to understand how important you think humor or sort of keeping it light, what role does this have to play in design, and any personal experiences that you can share from that, please?
Wow, yeah, keeping it light. Humour is an escalator to understanding. By that I mean, if you're in a room, and speaking as a facilitator, but for anyone, like if you can put people at ease, I think creativity flows better, insight emerges better. I've always found that. If you are in the business of running a lot of meetings, I think it can be tempting to slot yourself into a certain box, like, I'm the entertainer kind of facilitator, or I'm the sage guru kind of facilitator. And yeah, I'd certainly encourage you to don't worry about boxes, and in the spirit of humour, being more authentic about yourself, beer bottles and all, really helps. And it's less of that Michael Scott forced humour, the Office Michael Scott, kind of trying to make it happen. But putting people at ease and being able to see the lighter side of their own behaviour and the behaviour in a team. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never had that question. Thank you. Oh my goodness. What, Wi-Fi isn't enough?
Yeah.
TV isn't enough? Ultrasound isn't enough? What more do you want, my good man? Just to jump in, I think it was our current Prime Minister who actually said we're great augmenters. Like, we're great at buying existing technology products, you name it, and combining it with other stuff to create new stuff to export. Me personally, I think that's a massive cop-out. That's not our heritage. We used to make, now I'm not going to go all mugger on you, don't worry, but we used to make, serious shit. And we used to make and export serious shit, and we're not doing that much. That said, there are still some fantastic success stories out there. In fact, there's a company up in the Sunshine Coast. They make lithium batteries for EVs, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're doing this. Like, we are part of this sort of global movement of EVs, but we just don't know about it. So I think internally we've got to get much better at knowing our own success stories, celebrating our own success stories. And apart from that, I think I'm not going to reach into the sort of Aussie myth of good old ingenuity. It's not so much like anyone can be ingenious, as we've seen, like all over the world. But for me, it's doing the stuff that is authentic to local. It's making surfboards in a more sustainable way. It's the making cafes run smoother with less waste. And yeah, just being able to do what we already do well and scale that, I think.
Yeah. I think something to... Can you hear me? Yes. What I can think of in terms of something that we're in a unique position of is the Indigenous way of thinking and learning from our Indigenous history. Now, I mean, I think we nationally, as Australians, we are still learning that ourselves. But once we're in a position that we can present that to the rest of the world, I think it's a very, especially, with the issues that we're facing as a society, sustainability, climate change, all of those, we can actually learn a lot from our Indigenous history to tackle some of those. Now, how easy that is, I don't know, but it's something that can definitely be learned from. Something that we can learn from internationally. I need to think about that a bit more after this chat. There's one at the end there as well. Oh, sorry.
Hi. I was wanting to know when it comes to government legislation, could there be ways to better impact our national industry to be more recognizable on the global market? And if so, how so?
Great.
Love this question. Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm really glad I mentioned that question because this year is the first year that the Good Design Awards have had a category of policy design. And I'm personally looking forward to seeing this really kind of gain ground and gain momentum and get more entries where we look at how policy is developed, because robo-debt should never happen again. It should never happen again. Design was not employed in that policy. Now, the federal government has a clear case for what not to do. This is what they need. And so now this gives us license to say, well, here is a better way to do it, a better way of empathising with your constituents, your citizens, a better way of running research, a better way of ideating, problem framing, prototyping. We've got the gear, haven't we? We've got the tools. And another thing that I've actually learned from not only the Good Design Awards, but the Australian Design Council, they've learned the hard way that the vector, like the right lever to pull in this system, is business. The more businesses that we get on board, the more we can show them the positive triple bottom line, positive impacts of design and what they can do for their businesses and for their the area and that their business operates, like their region, their domain. They are the ones that then go and arc up to the ministers, state and federal. And so it's business leaders who are informed by design, who are design-led, can then basically do the work for us and get those better design-led conversations happening in those policy conversations in Canberra. Because, I mean, I suspect you know a fair bit about this. The way we tend to do policy by committee in small rooms and in corridors is broken. It's broken. We know this. But the times they are changing, and I'm really proud of the work that the Australian Design Council is doing in that area.
Ben, Nila, it's been so fabulous to hear this presentation. Always good to hear about good design. My question, I think you've already touched on this around impact and sustainability, but I'd love to hear a bit more. I'm really curious to know how impacts and dependencies on nature are playing through in the kind of the judging process. Nila, perhaps this is a question to start with you, with your context and history in industrial design. I know you'd think about materials and reuse and designing out use and so on. But anyway, I'd just love to hear your perspectives on nature and biodiversity.
I mean, just reflecting back on purely the judging days we had, the 2 days that we had together, I think every single project is getting measured not just on social impact, but environmental impact from materials, production, how long it's been used, how long it's going to be used for, is it repairable, is it recyclable? It's almost like that's almost like a horizontal criteria that you apply to any project. Even with digital products, you still apply the amount of energy that's going into running a service or a website. So it's really nice to see that it's not just an add-on, a given. It's really becoming inherent and integrated in a lot of the projects that we see at Good Design or just outside of that as well. Yeah.
To that I'd add, thanks Nila, that's awesome. To that I'd add, we're definitely seeing more of the flavour of circular economy become table stakes. So as Nila said, once upon a time it was like, ooh, bonus that this component is recycled. But now it's really becoming, well, why aren't you doing more to look at not only all the various products and manufacture that go into whatever the product is, but your supply chain as well. And so there's definitely more of that ESG flavour coming into how it's made, not only what is made. So there's a trend of circular economy coming in. We're seeing that a lot more in consumer products and interior design products, even things like carpet. I'll leave it there.
And I hope that we catch up soon with it actually being legislated. So it's a requirement, it's a standard that you have to meet. It's not just a thing that you can use for marketing and throw some words, but actually you need to meet these guidelines. And also it's a consumer expectation as well. Yeah.
There's definitely a trend, just to add another thing, there's definitely a trend in Australian industries that they wait for others to jump before they jump. So someone has to jump first. Someone has to show how to do circular economy well in a way that doesn't hurt the bottom line. And that's another great thing. Like the more we show positive case studies where there is resources saved from landfill and returned into products and savings in supply chain, as well as being profitable, then so many more businesses are on board. more and more businesses just need practical case studies. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, that's been SydDT number 106 and Design Connection number 3. Woo! So another huge thanks to Mila, to Ben, to Steve, still over there. That's been awesome, and hopefully you've got plenty to think about. This has been part 1. We now go to the veranda bar for part 2, and you've had some questions to reflect on. So what does good design mean to you? What do you want to dial up or dial down in your design practice? What was the third one? There was another one before that. What do you want to stand for? So we can get existential at the veranda. It'll be fun. So I hope, as part of this, it's helped broaden a perspective of what design is and what good design is. And I really encourage you to all think about every design and business decision we make gets us closer to the future that we want and that vision of change or not. And hopefully make those decisions that actually get us to keep making progress so we're doing good design and maybe even win a Good Design Award in 2025. So get your applications in. When do applications open, Rachel? February. So you can spend the Christmas break, end of year break, working out what you're going to apply for and bring on 2025. So thanks again for coming. Before we do a final wrap, I'm going to hand off to Jen. And look at this awesome sketchnoting. So a huge thanks to Alan from Shapeshifters. And before we run away, I'm going to get Diana to come and do a quick shout out about Shapeshifters. And if you want to be part of doing stuff like this, ways you can get involved as well.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to add one more meetup to your long list of meetups. But our meetup's called Think Visual. It's in the morning. Our last one for the year is next week on the 13th of November, so on Wednesday. And it's going to be at the Tin Sheds Gallery. And we've got, that's at the University of Sydney. And we've got a special guest speaker, Macquarie's own Laura Husselby. And yeah. And so it's, yes. Happy birthday, Laura. Yeah, so it's at 8 a.m., a little creative warm-up before work. And if you're interested in what we do, come along. We've got lots of sketching, some exercises, and fun creative things that we do. Thank you.
And so before the one on screen, don't forget there's a CCX and an EUX meetup that you can get involved in. And then we're all back together for another mega meetup as part of Design Connection on the 28th of November, which will be at Lassian. Hopefully your expectations have been managed to an appropriate level. It's all fun. You'll all be there, so it'll be fun. And that one will be much more of a little bit of content, a little bit of reflection on the year that's been, celebration, but mostly just partying. So there needs to be some content, but not too much. So it'll be even more interactive than tonight has been. So thanks again for coming, and I'm going to hand off to Jen for some closing words. See you at the pub.
Oh, thank you. Right. Wow. Okay, so I get to close this off, and just like that, we're almost at the end of our meetup, so thank you so much. And Ben, I like to exceed expectations. Right, so all of the recordings and this beautiful graphic recording from Shapeshifters, as well as all the materials from tonight, will be shared on the SydDT and Macquarie socials. We wouldn't be designers if we weren't asking for feedback, so we'll be sending through a survey. I promise you it's 1 minute, so we'll appreciate if you could fill that out. Now, one last thing. So on the way out, between you and the beer, there's going to be 2 stations where we'll be capturing customer satisfaction. Lara, we're doing it properly. And so if you wouldn't mind on your way out, grabbing a token and dropping it into one of the 5 boxes. And I think Ben's already mentioned, Veranda Bar is our next stop, as ILUMINA will be closing. Now, before we close, a couple more thank yous. So I definitely want to extend a huge thank you to all of our presenters, Steve, Ben, and Mila. Woo! Our collaborators, Diana and Alan, for that beautiful recording. Thank you so much. My partner in crime, Ben, maybe you can bring me along to the 107th Design Thinking Meetup. And then last but not least, can I just say a huge thank you to my wonderful DesignOps team. They're probably at the back. But Jennifer and Christine and our wonderful volunteers, thank you so much. They've been working tirelessly behind the scenes for the last, for the last couple of months. So thank you so much for the team, and I think tonight's a success. So last but not least, thank you all so much. Take care as you head out, and I hope to see you at the next meetup. Good night.